Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my new video. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the Qatar World Cup and how everyone's basically politicizing the World Cup and everyone's talking about human rights abuses rather than the World Cup itself. So I'm going to be discussing that. But before I do that, I'm going to talk about this story here about Ukraine war, Europe's largest nuclear power plant under attack. So I'm going to show you this YouTube channel. It's Sky News. And every time I see Sky News, I'm just thinking, what the hell is wrong with these people? And you can see the article here. Ukraine war, Europe's largest nuclear power plant under attack. But it doesn't tell you who's actually attacking this power plant. But let's hear from them, shall we? And we'll get a better idea.
Nuclear watchdog has called for an immediate halt in attacks on Europe's largest nuclear power plant in Ukraine. The International Atomic Energy Agency has warned those responsible for shelling the Zaporizhzhia plant that they're playing with fire. Russia has accused Ukraine of being behind the latest attacks on the facility, which is under Russian control. Will retired Air Vice Marshal.
So can you see the problem here? So she doesn't blame Ukraine whatsoever. She's using words which is saying those responsible, blah, blah, blah. And then she doesn't blame Ukraine directly. She basically says Russia accuses Ukraine of doing it. I mean, who the hell is going to do it apart from Ukraine? Who else is going to bloody do it? England? Poland? I mean, absolutely ridiculous. She's literally not blaming blaming Ukraine whatsoever. Just see the words she uses. And not only that, she even admits that the power plant is basically under Russian control. So why would Russia blow up their own power plant and blow up their own troops? Makes no sense. I just can't believe these journalists who studied all their lives to be journalists and lie like this in front of the world, in front of the world's people. Is that what they want to do? To become journalists and look at people's faces and lie? I just can't believe it. This guy's even worse. I mean, watch this guy.
Sean Bell is here with us. Sean, just talk us through what's happening right now. What's the latest that you know?
Yeah, well, yesterday evening and this morning, there were a series of powerful explosions rocked the Zaporizhzhia nuclear facility. It's probably worth remembering, though, that the International Atomic Energy Agency are on the ground at the moment, so we're probably going to hear more than we would otherwise.
So he said the IAEA is on the ground, so they are in the facilities as well. So just remember that.
Here because they're on the ground getting nervous. Just to remind viewers, this is one of the biggest nuclear reactors in Europe. It was seized by the Russians right at the start of the war in March. And whilst Russia blames the Ukrainians for this shelling, buildings and equipment and...
Did you hear that? He still says that Russia is blaming Ukrainians for the shelling. Who else are they going to blame? Who else is going to bloody shell the place? Is this guy stupid or what? Seriously.
Some of the periphery have been damaged, but we've been reassured by all parties that there's no critical nuclear security or safety issues as a result of this latest attack.
Which is reassuring in a sense, but why is this happening?
Well, if we look at the switch to the broader map, this is strategically important to Russia, not least of which power it used to provide. The Zaporizhzhia power plant provided power to Crimea. When the Russians invaded in 2014, the Ukrainians cut off supplies to that. But it also provides a significant proportion of power across the whole of Ukraine. And if you recall that Russia's been targeting Ukrainian critical national infrastructure the last month or so, so it will not want to. Now, you can't destroy the nuclear facility. That would leave a nuclear wasteland. But they will not want it to fall into Ukrainian hands. It's a sprawling facility as well. And the Russians have been hiding their military equipment there and then firing out from there at the Ukrainian forces, which inevitably provokes a response. And that's been happening.
So can you see why this makes me so angry? So earlier he said there's IAEA people there on the ground. Then now he's accusing Russia of hiding military equipment and artillery, and apparently Russia's been throwing artillery shells into Ukrainian positions from the nuclear power plant, and Ukraine has been firing back as a reaction. I mean, this guy is so stupid. I mean, look, he's not even young. He's in his 60s, right? How can someone in their 60s or 70s be this stupid? Why would Russia fire artillery shells from the nuclear power plant and invite attacks back? And if there's IAEA people on the ground, which he admitted earlier, then wouldn't they see something like that? Wouldn't they, see, like, hang on a second, there's Russia's using all of these artillery from the nuclear power plant. No wonder they're getting attacked. So this guy is just literally, oh, this makes me so angry, guys. I just can't believe how stupid these Western reporters are, or how stupid they can be. I've never ever seen, and this is embarrassing as a British person. This is embarrassing how stupid British people are. I mean, I've grown up in England all my life, and I never realized until now how dumb people in Britain are, how dumb and stupid. Seriously, I've just had enough. Let's move on. So this is the Qatar World Cup, and you've probably seen a lot of articles all over, all of the Western press about Qatar human rights. And you just type in Qatar human rights on YouTube, you see all these stories about human rights and nothing about the World Cup. Everything's talking about human rights this, human rights that. The players are coming out talking about human rights, and BBC articles is releasing things about human rights. And then I saw this, and even every single like news article about the World Cup, they keep bringing up human rights. I mean, watch
This
this.
is the image the Qatar government and FIFA have been trying so hard to promote. But the mood music has been anything but celebratory. Qatar's human rights record has overshadowed everything in this World Cup. Even the players are talking politics rather than football.
I mean,
England defender Eric Dyer was 16, but he told journalists Qatar's treatment of migrant workers was a terrible situation. Today, he went on the attack, accusing Qatar's critics of hypocrisy.
so before I go into this, I just want to say, this is deja vu happening here. This is the same thing happened to the Chinese. Earlier in the year, they had the Winter Olympics being held in Beijing. And all of these Western reporters, all of these Western channels started talking about human rights. Then Biden and the Western leaders did one better. They boycotted the whole event. Then none of the Western leaders actually bothered to turn up. And it was a huge insult to the Chinese. And other leaders turned up. And we're talking about, Putin turned up and he watched the games and stuff. And then a month later, obviously Putin went into Ukraine and stuff like that. And the Western leaders then they wanted favors from China immediately after, saying, "Oh, do you mind putting some sanctions on Russia, please? Just follow us, will you? Forget Russia, just join us, join our sanctions. Do you mind doing that?" And China was like, "Piss off." Well, they wouldn't say piss off, but you know what I mean. Um, I mean, why would they go with these Western fools who boycotted the event and then go against one of their friends who actually bothered turning up for the event? I mean, Putin turned up for the event and he signed loads of deals with the Chinese. He signed all these new gas deals and a couple of nuclear power plants that they were going to build in China, plus many other uh, um, infrastructure projects they signed together. And then months later, the Westerners are asking for favors. So you have the same thing now. You have these Western leaders going all the way to Qatar, begging for oil, begging for gas, begging for LNG. You had the German leader going into Qatar, saying, literally on his knees, begging for Qatari LNG and Qatari gas. And he came back to Germany. I'm talking about Baerbock. Is it Baerbock or Habeck? Habeck came back to Germany, and he was like, "Yeah, I've sorted out a deal with the Qataris. We're okay. We got plenty of gas coming through us." Then Qataris said, "No, you haven't. We haven't agreed to anything." And you have all these Western leaders going to Qatar and stuff like that, and literally begging to Qatar for any single gas or elect, oil they can get. And this is how they're treating Qatar now. All these Western leaders, all these Western journalists are now talking about human rights in Qatar. I mean, look, right? Human rights probably have been there or have not been there. I don't know. I mean, I don't know Qatar that well. But if there are human rights, why bring them up on the day of the World Cup? Why bring them up today? Why not bring them up last year? Why not bring them up a couple of years ago? Why not bring them up, you know, human rights should be there all the time. Why bring them up today? Today should be the time when, you play football. Keep away from politics. Just play football. If you want to bring up politics, why not bring them up last week or a week before? Nobody was talking about it. They had to bring it up today. That's what makes me really, really angry. And look what the FIFA president says, and I'm completely in agreement with him.
I think for what we Europeans have been doing in the last 3,000 years around the world, we should be apologizing for the next 3,000 years before starting to give moral lessons. Hundreds of thousands of workers from developing countries come here, they earn 10 times more than what they earn in their home country. We in Europe, we close our borders and we don't allow practically any worker from these countries.
So the first point he said that, the West is full of hypocrites, basically. They should be apologizing for 3,000 years of human rights abuses. And we're talking about colonization, slavery. Look what the British did to India, in China. I can go on. I can go on. And the West are absolute hypocrites. Absolute hypocrites. You cannot sit here and talk about human rights and ignore what's happening in Palestine. And this is what the Western press do. They ignore what's happening in Palestine. These Western leaders ignore what's happening in Palestine. Even in America, there's human rights abuses happening today. Today. There's all of these issues with abortions. There's Black Lives Matters. There's black people being hounded and shot and racially abused. There's the incarceration rate, the highest in the world. People can't even walk out in the streets without being killed or mugged in the United States in certain areas. I mean, today I've just heard a story about some gay bar being shot up. Shot five. Somebody went into a gay bar and started shooting up gay people. Isn't that human rights abuses? I mean, seriously, what the hell is going on in the West here? Are they all gone mad? Especially Britain. I mean, Britain has got a real serious human rights abuse history, and Britain is one of the main countries that's ignoring what's happening in Palestine. They ignore what's happening around the world when it suits them. Absolutely ridiculous, guys. I'm just sick of it. Absolutely, I'm just sick of all these lies and deception and stupidity and hypocrisy. Then you got this ridiculous story about, you know, people not allowed to drink in World Cup stadiums and stuff like that. So let me tell you something. So all these people that are kind of complaining about that, this is a Muslim country. They don't allow people drinking. And why would they allow it? Because you've seen what drinking does to people in World Cups. I've been to World Cups. I used to be a massive football fan. I used to travel around the world watching games and football. I've seen what happens. I was in the last World Cup, and people do get drunk. People go crazy, start having fights and hooliganism. Especially the British. The British are probably the worst. Unbelievable. See, if Qataris want to stop people from drinking, want to stop people from causing trouble, let them. It's their country. I'm sure, if it was held in another different country, they would have their own rules and regulations. You just got to respect the country's laws. If it's a Muslim country, they don't want drinking, so you got to respect that. Why bring it up now? I mean, this was being held in a Muslim country, so what did you expect? You can go in there, do whatever the hell you want. Is that what you think? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I'm fed up. I'm going to end it there. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. If you can support the channel, it'd be really, really great. I want to do this full time, but I would need your support. I just need 10 more people in my locals, and that will be it. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Thanks for now.